baseball and what will be the hot pick for this week. But Rich, why don't you go ahead and give our guest of the evening a nice introduction here?
Absolutely. So, our special guest, which we are so honored to have for the very first time on our program, he was drafted by the San Diego Padres in 1991 and would go on to make his major league debut on August the 16th, 1997, with the New York Yankees, where in his 2 seasons in the Bronx, he would hit .378 and be part of and win the 1998 World Series championship, which, of course, the Yankee fans are celebrating the 25th anniversary for. Our guest also would continue his work in baseball after stops in Toronto and Florida and even back in New York with the organizations of the San Diego Padres and the Texas Rangers. And since 2022, our guest would take a stab at managing. He would become the manager for the Mahoning Valley Scrappers of the MLB Draft League and currently of the Atlantic League of Professional Baseball's Staten Island Ferryhawks. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Homer Bush.
What's up, fellas?
Hey, Homer, how's it going?
Homer.
Outstanding. Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for coming on.
Thank you. And thank you for coming onto the show. We welcome you to Staten Island. Of course, is a team that's near and dear to our hearts, being a bunch of Staten Island kids that are watching a lot of baseball at the ballpark at SIUH Community Park. But I got to ask you, so ahead of the 2023 season, what are your expectations for the team? And what were some of the conversations you had to get involved with the Ferryhawks this year?
Well, the expectation is to win it all. I know there's a lot of good teams in the Atlantic League. It's a veteran league, but we're going to come in and compete. We're going to bring a little bit different flavor. We're going to have a mixed balance on our roster, some young guys, some veteran. But we're going to be, with the way our ballpark plays, we're going to be more of a get on base, high contact, stolen base type of team. So that's going to be the philosophy out the gate. And, like I've been telling people, man, when certain people call and say, take a call, you do that. So especially when you get an opportunity to coach in a major market team in New York, I mean, no matter what it is, you jump at it and you just deal with the results.
Absolutely. And again, we're happy to have you with this organization. You've had the honor to play with several great managers over your career. Is there any inspiration you're drawing from some of those managers you've played with as you entered the 2023 season?
Gosh, lots of it. Matter of fact, man, I can go all the way back to the minors. Very first game, first full season was like 5 minutes early to the bus. The manager said, "You're late. If you're not here 15 minutes prior to bus leaving, you're late." So, I played for a manager named Dave Trimley, who was very disciplined. You can tell he was very structured. So that's something I took away from my experience with him. But of all the managers I played for, Joe Torres had the biggest impact on me. He had just allowed guys to play. He trusted his players. It was all about us. I mean, just think, I was a rookie on the 98 World Series team. And, man, he put me in a big role, when the game was on the line. And he'll he'll try you, he'll test you. As long as you're doing the job, he just keeps running you out there. So that's going to be a large part of my philosophy this season. There's a lot of players that I don't know a lot about other than video and what I read on Baseball Reference, but I'm just going to run them out there and let's just see what happens.
Yeah, Homer, talk about a little bit when you transition over from managing in the prospect league. Obviously, it's a more developmental focused. You're preparing these kids to come into minor league camps and prepare for the draft. What's the difference in approach when you go from that to where you're going into the Atlantic League? It's a little bit more veteran. You have more guys who have been around the block. What's the difference of an approach of a manager in that situation?
Well, the draft league, I always say it's really good for first-time managers. The reason for that is because it's 2 halves. So the first half, it really is a developmental league. Mm-hmm. With the last 40 games, it's a competitive league. So there's no more developing. You're really trying to win. So so you get to learn the first, at least watch things develop and get a feel for what you would do in these situations. So I took huge advantage of that. And so the second half was a lot easier for me. I just, because I felt like I had already been in these positions before, and these are, some of the decisions I thought I would make, and it was a lot easier transition. But managing the Atlanta League is going to be a lot more of that second half. I always say when you manage, you have to be able to impact one side of the ball. You have to be an offense, you have to be an offensive guy, or you have to be at least a guy who pitched in the major leagues or pitched at somewhere if you're going to have a real impact. Decision making is really not that big of a deal, if you ask me, when it comes to managing, because the situations usually arise a lot. So you usually have your 6, 7, 8 guys and your closer, so you just got to make sure they stay healthy, run them out there. For me, the one challenge, we have a lot of good talent. Making sure everybody get enough at bats to keep them happy is probably what's going to be my biggest challenge.
Great. And I got to ask, you're coming to Staten Island. We have an absolutely beautiful ballpark. Talk about that a little bit. Do you think it might be the best view, not only in the Atlantic League, but of all the ballparks you've seen? Talk a little bit about seeing that skyline in the back during night games.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, just waking up and going to a baseball field as a job is already a cool thing, right? Mm-hmm. So then you go when you got views like that we have there, we're going to have there in Staten Island, is that's just kind of icing on the cake. It just, the season can be long, so if you have that to look forward to, it can definitely help the season go by a little quicker, and you enjoy the process a lot more.
Great. PNC Park has nothing on the views from Staten Island.
Yeah, I know PNC Park, one of my personal favorites, at least in terms of the MLB parks. Love PNC, beautiful ballpark. I'm actually going out to San Francisco in a couple of weeks to see the Mets play out there too. So I never went out to San Francisco. Definitely looking forward to going out there next. But I know Joe was talking a little about Staten Island, and you're coming over, that great view. We have a question in the chat that I want to bring up. Not sure if you had an opportunity to explore just yet, but New York always got the best pizza in the country. Greg Kunderi 11 in the chat is asking, what is your favorite Staten Island pizza spot? And if you don't have a Staten Island spot just yet, your time in New York, what was your favorite pizza place that you visited?
Good question, man. I do not have one yet in Staten Island, but I have been told there are several. So I'm looking forward to that. And, the craziest thing in 98, guys, when I tell you I didn't get out much, man, it was from my apartment. I went from my apartment to the stadium. So I'm looking forward to getting out and trying the different pizza spots. But I tell you what, there's a lot of places outside of New York that say they got New York style pizza that I can tell you about.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I've been to Chicago also. In Chicago,
yeah,
there were some good spots. I gotta say, Lou Malnati's very good pizzeria. Not gonna lie, but nothing's gonna beat the classic New York traditional. And I believe right now, Homer, you're actually based out of Texas at the moment, right?
You know what? I moved over to Arizona, but I was in Texas.
Okay, yeah. Arizona. So you got a little So a little barbecue food in Texas. I know we actually have some really good barbecue food. Got to give a recommendation. It's not going to beat your time in Texas, I'm sure. But you have to visit Hometown Barbecue in Red Hook, Brooklyn. That's another great food spot in the area. So you definitely have to go check that out as well. Hometown Barbecue. But Arizona itself, another beautiful city. I've been to Chase Field before to see the Diamondbacks play out there. And interesting out there, too. They got the roof. I know there's a whole debate about roofs and domes versus open-air stadium. Have to ask, as a player and now being a manager for the Atlantic League teams, too, what's your opinion? We've had a lot of debates on this in the past, on an open roof stadium versus a dome or a roof. I know the pros, you always know the game's going to be on as scheduled, but nothing sometimes beats that great view, like Joe was mentioning before, of the skyline. So what's your opinion on playing indoors versus outdoors?
Well, performance-wise, you definitely don't want to have to deal with the elements, so you want the roof, right? But, man, in Arizona and Texas, you want the roof in the summer.
Yeah. Yep.
Imagine.
Yeah, so I would say those would be the two differences. That if you want to hit a lot of home runs, you want to play indoors. You don't have to worry about if the wind is blowing out or blowing to right or blowing to left. But
yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And Homer, I know you mentioned the 98 Yankees already. You know, we can't not ask you a little bit about, in my opinion, probably a lot of people in the chat's opinion, the greatest team that any of us have ever seen, probably in any of the four sports. What were some of the things you think in that locker room, you know, other than just the absolute talent on the team that made that team so special, that made you guys click the way you did?
You know, I always say that it was like everyone had a role and they did their job. And so give me an example. I mean, you had Darryl Strawberry, Tim Raines, Chili Davis coming off the bench. I mean, those guys could have blown up the locker room if they wanted to. But you could tell the team was going to be special because it's on paper, there was a lot of good pieces. So when, like I said, when Joe called on you to do something, you did it. If you get a chance, look at Darryl Strawberry's numbers from that season. God, I think he had like 270, 350, I can't remember ABs, but I think he hit like 20-something home runs. And a lot of those were coming off the bench. So, you know, that's what I remember. No one was bigger than the team. No one hit, like I always say, I don't think nobody hit 40 home runs that year. I think most of the guys were in the 20s. So, you know, guys was just grinding. And the last thing, you know, a lot of those guys went on to be Hall of Famers, like Jeter, Mariano, you know, Bernie should be. Tino had a fantastic career. They were, you know, Tino was a little bit older, but man, those guys were young. They were just trying to figure it out. So it's easy now to say that, you know, well, look, they had all them Hall of Famers. It was like, no, they weren't Hall of Famers at that time. They were just babies trying to get it done. So, you know, it was just young guys going to work, trying to have enough success to play the next season.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, you look at it now, you see there's a lot of guys who would become superstars, but at the time, none of them were. Derek Jeter wasn't Derek Jeter. Mariano wasn't really Mariano at the time. They were good young players, just making it happen. A team that great, not really having, you said, no 40 home run guys, no guys like that, which is you know, really incredible.
Yeah, you know, it was amazing. It seemed like we won almost every day. It was crazy. You know,
Let me tell you, as like an 8-year-old, that's how I felt for me too. I was like, this is great. The Yankees just win every day. Baseball's fun.
Yeah.
I have to say, growing up, I grew up as a Mets fan too. So growing up, my school was such a big Yankee school too, and it seemed like every year they were having big Yankee parties. So definitely was great to grow up a Yankee fan in that era, late '90s, early 2000s. But as a Met fan too, listen, it made you want that championship more as a Mets fan because you got to see your opposing crosstown rival going out and win it, what seemed to be year after year during that era. So definitely a great era for New York sports. And it's actually a good era of New York sports right now, too. New York Mets bringing in Steve Cohen brings new life to Flushing in Queens with the Mets. Yankees right now bringing back Aaron Judge, huge extension, named him the captain, too. How do you feel about the season that Aaron Judge put up for the Yankees last year? And how do you think he's going to live up to that long contract they just gave him?
Well, you know, it's hard to say, but I'm pretty sure everybody knows there's going to be a couple years on the back end where it's going to be a farewell tour, right? So, but I do think with, you know, as long as he stays healthy, you know, he can hit 40 a year, not even trying, and, you know, walk 100 times, score 100 runs. So I don't think fulfilling that contract is going to be too difficult. Like I was saying, just staying healthy. If you ask me, it would probably be the main goal, you know, with that deal. And trying to outdo what he did last season, oh man, that's gonna be extremely difficult to do. So, you know, like I think that some of his projected numbers were, like I was saying, right around 340, 43 home runs, you know, 890 some RBI. So, you know, I think he can do that consistently for the next 5 to 7 years with no problem.
And as a Yankee fan, one could only hope. But one of the biggest talk of town for the New York Yankees is the evolution of Anthony Volpe, who's been a hot name to talk about. And as a middle infielder yourself, who was only a few feet away from Volpe's earliest comparison in Derek Jeter, what do you see in this kid? Do you see this guy living up to that kind of comparison? I know it's big shoes to fill, but what were your early thoughts on Anthony Volpe?
Yeah, so the cool thing about Derek, Derek had a long career, and so his numbers were like just off the charts, because he was so consistent each year. I think Volpe has that type of talent. Like he has the type of talent where he's going to be disciplined. He's not going to, it's like a young man that makes a lot of good decisions, got a lot of good people around him. But when I watch him on the field, he seems like he's not trying to do too much. He just want to catch the ground ball, and all he want to do is put the ball in play and then steal bases. I think he can have an even better career than Jeter power-wise, but the thing that we need to see is, can he hit for a high enough average to get the hit totals where Jeter's are? But I do think his power numbers will probably end up being better than Jeter's if he played 15, 20 years. Can you believe I just said that? 20 years. Yeah, if he played 20 years.
Homer, I'm buying what you're selling, man. You give me Judge 40 home runs every year for the next 5. You give Volpe 20 years. Oh boy, Homer.
Sign on the dotted line for that.
Absolutely.
Listen, Homer, you mentioned the stolen bases. I gotta ask, you stole a couple bags yourself. I think you had a bunch there in '99. What would a 20-something Homer Bush, what would he steal in 2023 if you played under this rules package that we just implemented with the wider bases? You think you could steal 50 in a season?
Oh, no doubt. It's amazing because I stole 30 something in 4 months. So I know I can get another 20 with the new rules. You make the bases bigger. I increase my lead a little bit more. Make them throw over a couple times, then I'm gone. It's like, man, so yeah.
I mean, listen, Gleyber Torres has 3 through 4 games, and he's not the fastest guy. I'm thinking Homer's at least getting 70, 80 bags in 2023.
I thought 50 was kind of low too, but man,
I mean, Joe's opinions are normally pretty off, so yeah, I'm thinking 70, 80 easy.
How many would Ricky steal? I mean, you think about the guy who stole, he wouldn't be caught. He would walk to every base in this rule set.
Hey, they come up with a new stat, like how many no throws down the second base.
Yep.
What's the point? I mean, you're only gonna, if you throw it away, he's going to take third.
Yep.
Exactly.
Ricky was a bad man. Ricky was a bad man.
And he would tell you about it too, I'm sure.
That's the best part.
Definitely.
It's a twofold game. It's a twofold game with him. But anyway, if you are just joining us here on Twitch, we thank you so much. We do have a ton of viewers who are coming in and keep piling in. So I thank you guys for the participation in the chat as well, and checking out the At the Plate with Homer Bush. We're going to get into Guess the Graph in a little bit. But before we get there, I just wanted to give you guys some notes on Twitch and how to subscribe. Obviously, we have a good viewership right now, but we could do a lot better. So let's send that link out to your friends. Why not? Download Twitch and subscribe to Empire State of Baseball. The Twitch stream can be found in the link tree on both our Instagram, which is at Empire State of Baseball on Instagram, and Twitter at ESB Podcast. So find the link tree, find the link, send it out. It's a lot of instructions, but it's for a good cause because we got Homer here for an episode number 40 of Empire State of Baseball, our season 2 premiere. So, Thomas, this is your time to shine because it's now time for Guess the Graph, which is a classic game that we haven't played in a while. So, Tom, when you're ready, what's our ball today?
Yeah, so it should be coming up on the screen here momentarily. Yeah, so, Homer, we wanted to guess the graph, pretty self-explanatory. Got an autograph ball here. I've collected a lot through my time of going down to Florida with my family for spring training and, getting as many autographs as I can. So we got one here. Want to see if you have a guess of who it might be. And we'll see if you got any thoughts.
Yeah. So, I mean, the obvious would be Tino Martinez. But
sometimes the obvious is the correct answer. Sometimes the obvious is the correct answer.
Yeah,
I'm really softballing on that one.
Got any good Tino stories?
I mean, yeah, I would love to hear him. He was my favorite player on those teams. It wasn't Jeter. It was like the one kid. I was like, no, Tino's my guy. So I would love some Tino stuff. Got a Tino story for us.
Man, Tino was so cool. I mean, here's a guy, man, I promise you. if I don't think this cat never had a speeding ticket or anything. I mean, he is just very solid, salt to the earth teammate. And I think there's not a whole lot of stories out there about him because, man, he just came to the yard every day, played, and man, went home to his family. So he was definitely one of the good guys. And man, I see Tino every so often, and I promise you, every time I see him, it's almost like seeing family again. He's always excited to see me, ask me about my family. So man, he was one of the good ones.
I was gonna say, were you there when in '98 for the brawl with the Orioles when he got hit in the back, or were you? Because I mean, that's if people in there haven't watched that brawl. Speaking of Darryl Strawberry being a crazy man, were you there for that? And I mean, the way they responded to protect Tino was awesome.
Yeah. No, I tell you what. Funny story from that brawl, because that brawl got out of hand quick.
Sure did.
Yeah. But Eric Davis told Tim Raines, he said, "Man, you guys were serious. Y'all ran your bat boy out here." And he said, "Who?" He pointed at me and he said, "Man, that's Homer Bush. He ain't a bat boy."
Nice. Darryl Strawberry and Graham Lloyd were out for blood that night.
That was the Armando Benitez one, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Joe Tino right between the 2 and the 4.
Oh boy.
Dude, Benitez was a scary man. Dude, I tell you, you got to pack a lunch when you come at him.
For sure. And then Homer, I have to ask you, so we do have Staten Island Yankees used to play at Richmond County Bank Ballpark, now the new home of the Staten Island Ferryhawks. But I have to ask, MLB Pipeline, 88th overall right now, ranked up-and-coming young kid, Homer Bush Jr. Homer, how you feeling about your son here? He's putting up great numbers for Grand Canyon U. How you feeling about your son and all his hard work he's put in thus far?
Oh, man, so excited for the young man. Dude, you talk about a solid human being. And for his game to be taken off the way it is, I mean, his mom did a fantastic job with him off the field. But man, everything is kind of coming together at the right time. And one thing I can say about his path to where he is now, he's had a lot of good coaches and he played with some really cool teammates over the years. And he's learned a lot. So for it all to be coming together at this time is amazing. I mean, exciting energy around here. And also, man, I tell you, it's nerve-wracking too, right? Because junior year is when you have the most leverage. So we can get through one more half of the season, then let's just see what happens with the draft.
Exactly, for sure.
Absolutely.
And I hope,
hopefully down the line he joins a long list of second generation, third generations. We've seen a lot of juniors come up over the last couple of years. Bobby Witt Jr., Fernando Tatis Jr. But we have all the faith in the world. Homer Bush Jr. is going to join that class real soon. Homer, we thank you so much for your time, and we're looking forward to the Staten Island Ferryhawks getting kicked off on Friday, April 28th. I believe it is a home game.
Yes.
So any final thoughts and words of wisdom from the great Homer Bush?
Man, just come out to the ballpark. We're going to be an exciting product on the field. We're going to be young, we're going to be fast. We're going to fill up the strike zone. I mean, the new rules is perfect for the style of baseball that we're trying to put together for the Ferryhawks team. So, like I said, I want the ball moving fast. I want bodies moving fast. I just want nothing but excitement and just energy for 126 games. So come on out to the ballpark.
Come on out to the ballpark. We're excited to see it. Homer, we thank you so much, sir. You have a good evening and good luck in your first year with the Staten Island Ferryhawks.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Good luck, guys.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Homer.
Homer.
All righty.
Take care,
Homer
Homer.
Bush. Homer Bush, ladies and gentlemen.
Now
Tom,
make
get
him
off the
Homer
proceeding.
Tom
What are you
like
doing?
that.
And I tell you what, I'm actually really looking forward to going out to Richmond County Bank Ballpark. I haven't actually been there since the Staten Island Yankees were in town. And the last time I went to the ballpark was probably, I want to say 2015 or so. And then it was vacant for 2 years until the Ferryhawks took it over in 2022. And there were some eerie pictures of that ballpark, too. You're seeing the pictures. It was a ghost town. And it was actually very sad because that ballpark was part of our childhood. We went on a lot of school trips over there.
I hate to come in with the correction, Corey, but they are now named the Staten Island University Hospital Community Park. Say that 5 times. But they did change the name recently, so they are sponsored by SIUH. But yes, Ferryhawks had kicked off April 28th, a Friday, and coming from Atlantic League Professional Baseball, when the Somerset Patriots were an ALPB team just a couple years ago, it is a fun environment to go out to. It's a family-friendly. I would say the ALPB and even the Frontier League Baseball, but mainly ALPB. ALPB is a great family-friendly environment. And if you're introducing your kid to watching baseball and you kind of want to save a little bit on going to the major league stadiums, even some of the minor league stadiums, going to an ALPB game gives you that competitive feel. And hell, you see some new rules that might get implemented over the time. So really cool experience. So hopefully guys are able to come out, support the Ferryhawks if you're on the Staten Island area, if you're in the tri-state area, especially. But Homer was great sport to have on. He was awesome. So it was a lot of fun to talk to him. And Homer Bush, obviously, you can check out this interview on YouTube, and we're going to talk on YouTube in a little bit. But you can give him a follow at his socials as well as displayed on the screen. But we do have some show to get to. And before we